Hi, friends. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to share with you about my signature course, She Sells Wholesale. I know so many of you guys ask questions about how do you get started with wholesaling because it can be complicated. I know because I have been there. And when I first started wholesaling my candles with my candle company, Heart Design Co., I failed miserably for several months, but I hit month 3 and I had my candles in over 120 retailers. So I am sharing with you my exact framework inside my signature course, She Sells Wholesale, and you can jump on the wait list at shesellswholesale.com. I only open up the course twice a year. So you want to make sure that you get on the wait list so you know when the course opens up, and it's opening soon. I will actually send you a free gift when you sign up on the wait list. So check it out at shesellswholesale.com. That's shesellswholesale.com.
Here's the thing. And I get this objection from digital product creators all the time. Well, can't you just find that on the internet for free? You can find anything on the internet for free.
Right.
But digital product creators who are good know how to aggregate that information to make it easy to digest and get you to the transformation much faster than me piecing together 100 different YouTube videos.
Hi, friends. Welcome to She Sells Differently, the show for aspiring women entrepreneurs looking to overcome the fear of selling and grow thriving businesses from a place of authenticity and confidence. I'm Andy Hart, and it wasn't all that long ago that I was a sales executive for a Fortune 500 company. But I knew in my heart that I was called to use my gifts for something more, something different. That's exactly why I created the She Sells Differently podcast. Each episode is going to deliver you business strategies, tools, and mindset shifts to help set you and your brand apart from our culture's expectations. It's time to elevate your sales and build a profitable, sustainable business you're proud of, one built on integrity, grace, and humility. It's time to learn how to sell differently. Welcome to the She Sells Differently podcast. I'm so blessed that you're here today. I have a very special guest, Monica Froese. And if you haven't listened to her podcast at all, then you know you are excited to be here as well. She is one of those that I have been following for a while. And so blessed that you are here today, Monica.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And so today's one of those episodes, if you've ever thought digital products don't apply to my business because you sell physical things, this episode is going to flip that belief on its head. So we are going to be talking about how you can repurpose the content that you're already creating into scalable digital products with the help of AI. So yes, even if you sell candles, jewelry, skincare, art, whatever it is that you sell, we're going to be diving into how to sell smarter, not harder, and why adding digital offers to your product-based business might be the most aligned, sustainable move that you can make. So, Monica, before we dive in, tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started as an entrepreneur.
Yep. Well, it goes back into the dinosaur ages of our business. I got started, in 2013. I was postpartum with my first daughter, and I was very upset with the lack of maternity leave support in the United States, which unfortunately has not really gotten better. My daughter's almost 13 now. Well, I also had really bad postpartum PTSD that went undiagnosed for 15 months. So I was really struggling. I was in my corporate career at the time. I was in corporate marketing. I have my MBA. I was supposed to just play the corporate game my whole life. And then she was born, and it was like this crossroads of there's really a lack of support for working moms out there. I felt like I wasn't getting enough time with her. And I also knew that I still wanted a career. So I decided I was going to make my career. I was going to invent it out of nothing. And funny enough, what kicked my butt to do it was actually President Obama. So through this blog, it's called Redefining Mom, I got invited to the White House, and they considered me press. It was this working families event. I had no idea what to expect. They don't actually tell you if the president's going to be there. And I got tapped on the shoulder and asked to go over to the Oval Office to meet with him in the 6-person roundtable. talk about being thrown off guard. Like, I did not fly to Washington, D.C., even though knowing if he was going to be in the room, alone, sitting in a room one-on-one almost with him. And he asked me basically my opinion on what like maternity leave and all these things. And I just like let it go. I let it off. And he told me I was a Spitfire and that I should do something about it. To which I replied, but you're the leader of the free world. So what are you going to do about it?
I love it.
And he goes, and I said, and I immediately was like, I'm not doing politics. And he goes, no, but you're here, which means you probably have a platform. And I don't know why. It never registered to me. At this point, I'd already gone on like national news. So I had a following, but I wasn't trying to do anything with it because I thought I was going to be in corporate forever. 8 months later, I ended up quitting my corporate job because I just like, it stuck with me in my head after he said, what are you going to do about it? So then my whole thing became supporting women who are like me, ambitious, want access to their own money, but they also want to have kids and be present in a different way than what corporate allows. And so Redefining Mom kind of morphed into helping moms do that. And that's where I found digital products. And digital products are really simply a digital means of helping someone achieve a transformation. So my very first one was called the Family Budget Spreadsheet. At this point, this is 2016. Nobody's talking about digital products at this point. We knew about like digital courses and e-learning, but it just wasn't like a buzzword yet.
Right.
And so I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. Basically, I quit my corporate job and everyone in my audience was like, wait, I thought you were like the right to work mom. You're the working mom. And I'm like, I am. I'm going to do my own business. And everyone's objection to that was the finances. And I got it because we lived off of my paycheck as well. It wasn't like we had a budget extremely conscious, like when I quit, because if I did not start making back my income rather fast, I was going to be back to corporate America quick. So my ex and I had developed this, what I call the family budget spreadsheet. And all I did was templatize it. I was like, here's what we used to make this possible for me to have this leeway to build this business. That became the very first digital product. And at the time, Pinterest was like exploding.
Mm-hmm.
And so I jumped on the early bandwagon and they had released a very like novice advertising platform. It was nothing as robust as like Facebook was. And I was already good at ads. So I was like, I'm going to run targeted Pinterest traffic to my digital products where everyone else was trying to just get blog views. I'm like, what do I want to do with a view? I want you to pay me money. So I got really good at that, ended up meeting the CEO of Pinterest and did this for 4 years. This is what kind of put me on the map in terms of like being a digital product creator because I taught this course on how to run Pinterest ads for 4 years, built the house I live in today with my ex. Never would have imagined I could have built a house like this. Woke up the next day, quite literally after we closed, and I told him, I am burning it all down. I hate Pinterest. I don't want to talk about it. Another day in my life. And he looked at me like, maybe you should have told me that before yesterday. And I said, no, I have a plan. Don't worry. I won't miss a beat. And that's when I pivoted into teaching. I rebranded into Empowered Business and I began teaching content creators. At the time, there were really a lot of bloggers. Now I just say content creators because content creators can be in a lot of different mediums nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
How to take all that content they're creating and packaging it so they can sell it in digital products. And then that led to me teaching people how to create so many digital products that then we were like, we need to be treated like an e-commerce seller because having 40 different sales pages and 40 different checkouts, that is not very logical. When someone comes to you and says, I want to see all your offers, do you want them to go to check out 40 different times? So then I got really good at e-commerce shops. I use Shopify. I have a whole big course on that. And then AI came into the picture and I'm just pretty much layering AI into all the things that I do to make creating digital products and launching them and making money like easier.
Yes, that's amazing. It's so interesting because you and I have very similar backgrounds as far as corporate, MBA, and kind of getting caught in that rat race. And then, my exit was a little bit different, but it is just amazing how sometimes it just takes one person. No, mine wasn't the president of the United States, but it's just takes one person challenging you and saying, what are you going to do? And I think often that sticks with you and you're like, no, I can do this and I can create a business that I'm hustling after my own dream and not someone else's. And just to see what you've created and the ripple effects that you're having of teaching other women how to create their own business as well is amazing.
Even being able to have contractors, have employees.
Yeah.
It's like, I honestly think of the business as like its own mini economy that's because I created this, I'm helping other women in many different ways, not just do their own business, but then also paying them for their work, allowing them to stay home. Like I've supported my right hand through she has 3 kids. I supported her through 2 of her maternity leaves. I paid her full maternity leave when the law said I did not have to, because I was not going to be the person who started this business being upset about the lack of maternity leave and then turn around and be a business owner who wasn't going to live up to that.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, that's amazing. So for my listeners, and a lot of them do sell physical products, some of them sell digital products, but maybe they sell candles or jewelry, stationery, what have you. Why should they be thinking or considering digital products in the first place for their e-commerce shop?
Okay, so the number one thing is the profit margin. Now, when I say this, I don't like when people who teach digital products are like, it's 100% profit. Well, it's not, but we don't have the same cost of goods sold. It's actually a
Right.
different way that you have to look at it, because you still, depending on what you package in your digital product, you have to be conscientious of any of your time deliverables after. So if you have any sort of live component to it, but then also customer service, you have tech that's going to run these products. You still have to pay for Shopify. You have to pay for a delivery mechanism, an email list. So there's costs that are associated with it, but there's not those fixed costs like physical product sellers have.
Right.
So it is a way, the very first reason is because it's a way to pad the profit margin. And I will say, would you say a lot of your product sellers use Shopify?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure you've been on Shopify for a while. It really got started for physical products. That's how it was built. But Shopify, and I really noticed them get on board during the pandemic, they recognized real fast that this digital creators could have a space on their platform, and they made it so that there's a lot more resources to have digital products. Like I sell nothing physical in my shop. I have 2 shops, nothing physical, only digital. So some physical product creators thought that if I get involved with digital products, they're going to need a whole nother shop. And no, you don't. I always say the shop is, for me, the way I teach, it's topical based. So yes, if you're going to create a digital shop that's completely off the topic of what your physical products are, that probably doesn't make sense. But in the realm of what your products are, if you're going to create digital products to complement them, they can be in the same shop. And I've seen a lot of people over the years do that.
Yes. And that's something that I know a lot of physical product makers are not even considering or thinking about, especially when it comes to your profit margins. And they already have the shop set up. So what kinds of digital products could they be thinking about? And let's just use a candle maker, because I know there's a lot of candle makers listening, because I have a candle brand. And so there's a lot of candle makers that naturally follow me. And so let's just use a candle maker, a candle brand, for example. What kind of digital products would be out there that maybe a candle maker would create?
I see a lot of physical product makers, especially when they are in like the handmade space, which is, that's what you're doing, right? Do a lot of how-tos, like how to create. So they are essentially educating people to do their own. That I see a lot of that. And I know some people are like, well, why would I want to do that? It's like, because honestly, a lot of people will still buy your physical product from you because they want to see the quality and how it's put together, but they're also just very inquisitive about how the whole process works. A lot of people want to be handmade creators, but not necessarily like wholesalers, right? They just actually like want to treat it like a hobby. Like these physical product sellers, it's their business. Like for you, candle making is your business. There's a whole adjacent audience there that's interested in just knowing how the process works, not because they want to compete with you, but because they're fascinated by it and want to hobby. So it's almost like chasing hobby creators. I get a lot of that. I had a guy who sold pools. This might help people like really, this is when it really clicked for me. So it was a local person. I live in Buffalo, New York. Now, pools here, we get to use them 3 months out of the year, right? So when you think about this, this guy's whole business is based on this model where he's going to have a huge uptick of sales. And then he's going to have like 6 months of pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
And so it was so random. I was looking for a hot tub one day and I went in and he was having a conversation with like his business partner about this and I butted in. And so we started talking about, well, what could you do to take all the skill and knowledge you have around pools and create something digital with it? Because someone like me, for example, I know nothing about how to maintain a hot tub. I really want a hot tub. I know nothing about it. And here's the thing. And I get this objection from digital product creators all the time. Well, can't you just find that on the internet for free? You can find anything on the internet for free.
Right.
But digital product creators who are good know how to aggregate that information to make it easy to digest and get you to the transformation much faster than me piecing together 100 different YouTube videos. So as I was talking to him about, well, like, what are like the common questions you get when people come in to buy hot tubs, to buy pools, especially someone like me who knows nothing. I didn't even realize I had to get a new electrical outlet. I'm like, well, how do I go about doing that? And then like, what goes underneath the hot tub? And then he was like, well, if you're going to keep it running in the winter and you're going to have to like homeowners insurance. And he was like worrying about like the grips on walking when you step down because it gets really slippery because it will ice over the water. And so we're going through all these things that his customers who come in to buy physical stuff for him, even chemicals, ask him. And I said, well, all of these can be sellable guides. All of these can be, first, they can be add-ons to your customers. Like here I am buying the hot tub. I have no idea how to take care of it. I have no idea the different steps I should take, winterizing it, summer, saltwater, not saltwater. What does all this mean? You could literally sell me an add-on that's a very, like, it could be video-based, like 5-minute snippets. This is what you do in the winter. This is what you do in the summer. Don't forget to do this. This is how you empty this hose. This is how you put in these chemicals. But now you're not only helping your customers, you can sell that to anyone in the world. Anyone in the world. So now you could even go to other like pool store owners and say, hey, I can license you this content. You can sell this along with your products as well in your shop. That was the first time it really clicked for me. So I give that example because I feel like there's so many things that and it really does depend on your product. I get that. But there's so many things as product creators that we know about the overall topic that is a lot of knowledge that people want. Like I've had interior designers who, like they contract with like the furniture makers and stuff. And then they take all their knowledge of interior design and they create a course on how, because some people can't afford the interior designer. And then they work with the furniture people to now be like, okay, you have this high-end furniture store, let's say. So you're selling, and you don't know, people come in and they're like, I'm not going to hire an interior designer, but I have absolutely no idea like how this fits. Like I can't even envision my room. That's where these digital products fit in.
Yeah, so true. And that's the thing is that I had that challenge too when I first started. People would say, but I can go find this all over the web. And that's the point is that, sure, you can go do that and you can go take hours aggregating all of this data, sorting through it, and then you don't necessarily have a guide to help answer any of your questions. Or people will pay for having the aggregated data and saving that time, having it all in one place, and having a guide that they can go to for questions.
It could even be like for candle makers. It could be something like how to, like the aesthetics of your house with candles. Like I actually am a really big candle consumer. And I don't just use them to burn. I also use them to decorate and seasonally. So you could spin this off a million different ways on like how-to guides, like how to like enhance decor in your house with candles in very creative ways. Especially, I'm going to imagine a lot of candle makers have like their own little niche that makes their candle unique in like different ways to use that candle in someone's house other than just burning it on their island or wherever they're burning it. Now, here's where AI gets really, really helpful. Okay, so one of the things I started teaching for the digital product creators, but this is just as applicable to physical product creators. So we have all this content created. Let's just say I'm working with someone who has like 20 different digital products. I'll say, well, let's go to ChatGPT, plug in the digital product that we have and ask it, what other products can we create based on this? And also, can you help me find adjacent audiences for this? So like if I was a physical product maker, I was a candle maker, I would go to ChatGPT and say something like, I'm selling these types of candles. This is the audience I serve. This is why I create like a little mini backstory on why you do it, who you're serving, your typical people who are buying. What kind of digital products can I create that complement them buying this candle that I can sell in my shop? And you'd probably be amazed. I kind of want to do it right now. I'm kind of curious what chat would do.
I know.
Because let me take that family budget spreadsheet, for example. I have been selling the exact same one since 2016. It has sold tens of thousands of copies. And honestly, like it's pretty basic in comparison to what I could do now, but I just haven't had the time to update it. It's not as like pretty as the ones you see on Etsy, just
Sure.
as digital products. So the first thing I did was I uploaded it into chat and I said, what kind of tabs and different like visual things can I add to it? And it gave me really great ideas. And then I was like, well, what other types of spreadsheets can I create based on this one? And I asked it for different audiences and it came back with so many cool things. Like, well, you could create one for parents who are sending their kids to college and their kids like a new budget for their kids. You could create one for single moms who, because my family budget spreadsheet is based just on a dual income family. What about a single mom who's now moving into a single income? I was like, well, that's really relevant to me. Thanks, chat. And then it gave me all these ideas for the product on what I could add to the spreadsheet for that audience. And I was just like, I never would have thought of any of this, you know?
Yeah.
So honestly, ChatGPT can be your friend with this one.
The one that the idea that you just gave me is working with designers and how you're using candles to even enhance your living space. Because I have a friend here and she's a just crazy talented designer. She's helped me. I bought a house that is, I've always loved open concept living spaces, but this one is like really open. And so I'm like, okay, how do you make this like cozy, you know? So she's been helping me. And I'm like, she would be the perfect person to help me create that, you know? So I love that idea. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
I mean, a lot of times when people are buying handmade stuff, like that kind of, in my opinion, it kind of indicates that they like that homey feeling. And so they're into decorating their house. And so there's a lot of things that you can add. Like the digital product doesn't have to be specific to even candles. I think that's where people get a
Yeah.
little tripped up, that they think it has to be something to do with candles. But think about your buyer who's buying the candles. Like what other things around them in the home could you help them with? Because that's the type of person that they are.
Yeah. It could be gift giving. I mean, so my niche with my candle brand is it's all about gift giving, right? And so that, and every candle brand has a different kind of niche. Like I have one client and her niche is it's very military branded because her husband's in the military, you know? And so there's a whole different, you know, route you could go down. But yeah. And so there's a lot, I mean, AI opens the door to so many possibilities there. And so it's really crazy to think about.
Do you have any digital products in your store? I don't think you do you?
I don't in my candle store, but I have, you know, obviously in my coaching business, I have so many. Yeah. So it's interesting. I just have two separate businesses, so I keep them separate. But yeah, I really should think about that. The other thing that I think is interesting about physical product makers that you even almost have an advantage of is your packaging that you can leverage to sell. It's almost like a gateway to open up to sell your digital products. And by that, I mean, one of the things I talk about with my clients is using QR codes. Like, for example, on your candles, like on the bottom, I don't have a warning label on this one because it's just an empty, but QR codes on your warning labels to talk about your candle brand or to lead to your website to resell, you know, if they want to buy this candle again.
Mm.
But you can also, you know, you can create dynamic QR codes. You can also have it lead to your digital products if they want to learn how to create a candle or whatever it is, right? So your product packaging can also sell your digital products for you too.
What other kind of product sellers do you work with, like other than candle ones?
Yeah, so I have a lot of artists. I have some jewelry makers as well, some paper products, so stationery, skincare as well. And then I have a couple of fashion designers as well.
Interesting. Okay, because I was looking at the painting behind your head, the flowers. You have this really nice flower painting.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, so this is like another way to create digital products. Like, so if let's say that I want to order a canvas, but maybe the canvas is too expensive for me, but I really like the design. Now, I know not all designers are going to be willing to do this, but you can offer a digital download version of your designs that I can then go get printed, you know, for a fraction of the price of what the canvas is. And I get that again is not going to be everyone wants to do that depending on like the premiumness of their brand. But I find myself on Etsy, for example, a lot when I'll be looking for something that I know, because I still have so many rooms in this house to decorate still 5 years later. And I'll like know what I want. And then I find it and I'm like, oh, I mean, by the time I pay for the shipping on that, and then if they offer me a digital one, I actually have like a print house I work with here. So it makes more sense sometimes for me to get the digital and just have it printed locally.
Yeah. So I actually took a art class it was an illustrator class during COVID to learn surface pattern design. And because I've always loved painting and things like that. And so that's my hobby. And they talk about offering digital downloads for that exact reason. And then how you can repurpose and offer all of these, digital products as an artist.
Yeah. Okay. So I worked with someone she did calligraphy and she had beautiful designs that she was selling on Shopify and Etsy. And she did like local craft fairs and stuff. And she's like, and it's so funny because she came to me and she said, so many people get she did like beautiful cards, like all these different things. And then they're like, I want to learn how to do this. This feels like this would be fun. So she ended up blowing up by doing this big, it was a how-to course on how, like for beginners, for calligraphy. These weren't people that were going to compete with her in terms of selling. They were people who wanted to do it as a hobby, and it ended up making her a ton of money. And her resistance was just that. First, she's like, well, I feel like I'm just creating my competition. I'm like, you're the artist. No one can be an artist like you. They just want to know the skill. And then she realized that there was a huge like offshoot audience for people who love to do bullet journals, that loved the idea of bullet journals, but they really weren't like, I have a vision for my bullet journal, but I'm terrible at like making it pretty. Terrible. So she ended up doing bullet journal layouts for people, which were digital downloads.
Yeah.
So her calligraphy business went from like, she veered off, and then she ended up just basically, she went down to a Shopify store and she had you can buy my designs as the artist. You can learn how to do calligraphy as a hobby. And it was a whole bullet journal offshoot. And it was all digital stuff on the bullet journal.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there is a niche for every creative idea that you can think of. And that's what makes it fun. I mean, I think you've just probably opened the door for every single listener their mind is just turning, going, wow, okay. Like, whatever product that they make, whether it's a physical or a digital product, they're probably just going, wow, I did not even think like I could do all of this, So it's exciting. It's absolutely exciting. So I want to ask this too, because I know that they're probably thinking this in their mind. How do you recommend pricing digital products when you're used to pricing tangible physical goods?
Okay. It always surprised me when I switched from teaching Pinterest to digital products, how hung up people got on pricing. Just so hung up. They would ask me questions like, well, my planner, my ebook, whatever it was, is only 14 pages. So like, how could I charge $29 for that? It's only 14 pages. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. First of all, do I want to read 100 pages to get to the same outcome just because you think 100 pages looks more valuable? And that is the key. When you're pricing digital products, yes, you have to keep in mind any of your back-end delivery and stuff and what that's going to cost you to make sure that you're not like undercharging. But the real crux of pricing digital products comes to two things: the transformation that you're providing and what the market is willing to bear. And the brilliance of digital products, which you're so much more limited on physical products, is guess what? If you choose a price point that doesn't work, meaning for whatever reason, like when I say doesn't work, it could be it's not flying off the shelves or it's flying off the shelf so much that you probably underpriced yourself. You can change it. Nothing prevents changing it in a heartbeat. And you don't have to worry about those huge fixed costs that are going to undermine your profit margin when you do so. So I always tell like digital product creators, don't get in your head about this. I have a thing where I take people through some market research. So like, let's go out there and see what the current market is offering different things at, so you can get an idea of what the market can bear. But if you put something out there, especially if you have an audience and you have traffic coming to it and nobody's buying it, well, then you likely overpriced it. And so we just adjust it. But it has nothing to do with these things of like, well, there's only 14 pages or there's only like 2 templates. It's the transformation that people care about. How am I getting from point A to point B? Like the calligraphy course, for example. Do I want to watch 50 videos just because you think 50 videos means that you can charge me $4.97 for it? Or if you can get me from point A to point B and understand the process of how to do the calligraphy in, let's say, 5 videos, that doesn't undercut your like the price doesn't have to be lower because there's less in there, because that's like the whole point is I don't want to go to YouTube and have to find the 500 videos to consume to figure out exactly how to do this.
Yes. And I don't want to sit through your 50 videos.
Exactly.
I'm going to be fast forwarding.
Yeah, exactly. The amount of different like podcasts, like private podcasts for my students that I've done on pricing, like mindset of pricing, because they get so hung up on it. And
yes.
I always tell people, I'm like, okay, like one of the things I get a lot too is about discounting. And I'm like, okay, because they're like, well, what if I discount it and then they bought it last week? I'm like, well, you could choose to do a price match like big retail stores do. But, I bought a $500 Dyson from Target. I bought it in summer. And guess what? On Black Friday, it was 40% off. I didn't go back to Target and be like, guess what? You owe me the 40% because I bought it in the summer.
It's the reality as a consumer. It really is.
And for digital products, for some reason, because it's intangible, like, they think that, well, how dare you sold that more a few months ago and now you're doing a sale. No, digital products are e-com, just like physical products.
Absolutely.
And I always say, if you wouldn't go back to a physical product creator or a physical product store owner with that question, then those are how you draw the same guidelines for running your digital product business.
I love that too. And I think it's important, like as long as you are doing business ethically, right? Then you need to stand up and own your pricing. And I don't know why that is hard. And I don't want to over gender. I feel like though that sometimes it's harder for us as women to like stand up and own our pricing. And I'm like, no, ma'am, like you have value in what you have created. Own that, And I always say this, anyone that's listening that has listened for very long, but when you have something that provides value, then you need to charge for it and you need to talk about it. You owe it to the world to share it with them. Yeah.
I work with a lot of women who are also in the faith niche, and they get a lot of pushback because they're like, oh, are you monetizing God? And I've heard that.
Listen, I'm a Christian, and that is like one of my number one pet peeves.
Like I had this really great conversation with one of my students who's in the faith niche where I said, well, listen, what is your end goal for your business? And she's like, I want to help women help their children, like learn in the Word of God. Like a lot of her niche was homeschoolers. She's like, I want to give them resources so that when they're homeschooling, they have the resources to help their children guided by faith, basically. Like that was like the general theme of what she was saying. And I was like, okay, so for you to do that, in order to create these products, what is it taking away from? She's like, well, I definitely can't do it if I'm going to continue to be a full-time nurse because it's actually very time consuming. I'm building curriculum for them. I'm like, exactly. You're not monetizing God. You are monetizing a transformation where they didn't have the tools to teach their kids in this faith-based way that they wanted to. You're creating basically a curriculum for them. But in order for you to do that, you need to get paid because your time is still valuable. If they can do it themselves, then let them do it themselves. Like that's probably the niche that I hear the most resistance. But I do hear it. I mean, I don't work with as many men as I do women, but I've kind of leaned away from my branding being only geared towards women. So I get a decent amount of men now in my world. And I can wholeheartedly say that they do not struggle with pricing nearly as much as women do. I think that men are conditioned to understand that they're supposed to work. Like they're supposed to be providing, right? We still have those societal constructs. And so because it's in their head from such a young age that their job is to provide, well, clearly if my job is to create this content, I need to get paid for it. And they just don't have issues as much around it.
Yes.
And women are told a lot of times, and yes, there's nuance to everything, but in general, women are told that we are here to serve. And serving comes with the connotation of free. But, that's one, not fair. And two, I always say all the time, I tell my daughters this all the time. I'm like, first of all, I tell them that they're number one. My role is their mothers to teach them how to first and foremost take care of themselves. Because you can't take care of anyone else to take care of you.
Amen.
That's number one. And two, you are absolutely allowed to get paid for your time. This idea that we provide free value all the time is just, I have a friend who actually literally charges her husband for her stay-at-home mom services. And I'm like, that is brilliant. Every
That
stay-at-home mom should do that.
is also funny because
there was, they're a wonderful couple and her husband's wonderful too. But like there was that disconnect of, yes, we are serving different roles, but like they're equally as important. And I know a lot of people have struggled with that. And so she finally was like, and it's not an allowance. It's not an allowance. It is literally like, you are paying me a wage for these services, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I want to go back to something you said, because I mean, this is a faith-based podcast, and it's something that really is a pet peeve of mine, that I think in the Christian culture, you think serve, serve, serve. And there's a place for that. But two things, the Lord created work for you to make a living, for you to have dominion over, and for you to be able to provide for your family. And so to say that you cannot make money at that is very contrary to what Scripture says. The second thing I'll say is you can even just go look at Proverbs 31 and see in Scripture where there is, the heading of that Scripture says, a woman of noble character. And she is actually selling her physical goods at the market, selling them for a price. And I always laugh because there's actually an example of her wholesaling, which is exactly what I teach. She's taking her products to the merchant. I mean, that is her taking her products to the merchant for him to go sell. And so that is an example in Scripture of wholesaling. And she is providing and making money for her family. So anyone that thinks that, it is contrary to Scripture or to, to make money is completely wrong. So
I completely agree. And also, you are now, if you really want to, Christians are also called to evangelize, right? And so if through your work, you are able to take the Scripture and make it not palatable, but digestible in a way that maybe it's hard for certain people to really understand. But reading the Bible is not the easiest thing in the world, right? Like, especially for somebody, like if you're new to it when you're younger. And so if we're called to evangelize, when you think about it, if you're creating these resources for people to be able to understand the Bible because you are able to teach it in a way that maybe their pastor just can't explain it in the same way that you can. Like now you have the potential through your work to make more Christians, which is actually what Christians are called to do. So,
yes, there's a whole digital product there.
So, I know. And so I'm just really, I think for me, I got to a place where this is what I tell people, like, listen, I am very led in my business to want to help, because if I didn't want to help the person get the transformation, I wouldn't be motivated to show up every day and I should just go back to corporate America. So I actually want to help with the transformation that my products create. However, in order for me to sit in this seat that I'm sitting in, I still have a mortgage to pay. I still have kids to pay. So if I'm sitting in this seat, it's not that I don't want to help you. I absolutely do, but I have to get paid for it because I have bills too.
This could be a whole podcast on its own about like the mindset of money for women. And it really could. But I think all in, though, what I love and kind of bringing it full circle is that you have created such a beautiful way that you saw a need in your own family and for your own self, for you to get out of corporate and create a space for you to have the freedom at home and make money. And you provided for your family. You built a beautiful home. You've provided for your family. And I know your podcast, it's the Empowered Business Podcast, right? And so what better word than empowered for women to hear, It
was different for everyone. Like one of the big things I said, my kids are 5.5 years apart. Main part of that was because I had a really not a great postpartum experience. But the other one is I said, my oldest, I really feel for the first 3 years, it was like we left the house, got home, put her to bed. I just did not get that time I wanted. And I said, I'm not having another kid until I can show up in the way I want to. And it looks different for everyone. What that meant for me was my youngest stayed at home until she was 4. I had a full-time nanny because that's what this business provided me to do. I could have lunch with her. I did not miss out on milestones. She was in the home with me. I was still able to work. I was still able to witness everything. And that's what I wanted. Like that. And I built the business so that I could do that and basically say to society, don't tell me I can't, because I can do it.
Yeah, I love that. So in wrapping up, if a listener is feeling curious about what we talked about, or maybe they're feeling overwhelmed and they want to learn more, what's the very first step they can take to dip their toes into the digital product world using what they already have? How can they find you?
All right. So everything's pretty much centralized under monicafroese.com. So that's where you can find my podcast. You can find how to work with me, all my different offers. I also have a free GPT that's called the Reverse Idea Finder, which I actually feel would be very, very helpful for product sellers. It leads you through a series of prompts to help you come up with your digital product idea. So you can get that at empoweredbusinesslab.com/GPT.
We will put all of that in the show notes for you. And my last question for you, and this is just for fun. If the Bills win the Super Bowl, what is your celebratory meal?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I will do with myself if the Bills win the Super Bowl. I don't even know. I mean, chicken wing dip.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's actually because we saved that for the playoff season. So that will be, but this whole town will go nuts.
Oh, yeah. I figured
Everyone-
you'd like that question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
So much for joining us. I know this just provided a fresh perspective and so much value for my listeners. So we appreciate you.
No, thank you.
Yes. And thanks for tuning in to this episode of the She Sells Differently podcast. Next Wednesday, we'll have a fresh episode for you. And until then, we're cheering you on. All right, that's a wrap on today's episode of She Sells Differently. Friends, it would be a huge blessing to me if you would take 2 seconds to rate and subscribe to my podcast. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Until then, I'm cheering you on in your entrepreneurial journey. See you next time.